Hi everyone. The topic that I have been assigned to speak on is communication with children. In the past, communication with children was meant to be more of a parents tell, children listen, and there's no discussion about it. Parents were more authoritarian and they took a more directive approach. The decisions that were made by parents were final decisions, and children were not expected to speak about it or to discuss anything. Children were expected to follow these standards and these rules without questioning what their parents have told them. Poor communication is an issue that parents face sometimes, and when there's poor communication between parents and children, it can lead to a weak emotional bond with your child. It leads to increased behavioral problems in children, and that can be in the home, in school, with other people. It's regardless of the situation that they're in, it can increase the behavioral problems. And it also increases the issues that arise with conflict resolution. Some of the changes in parent-child communication are that children argue or disagree more with what their parents say, but it is important to remember that changes are happening all the time with parental-child communication. When I say that children argue more with their parents, what I mean is that they're more questioning of what the boundaries their parents set are and why they set those boundaries. And another thing that is changing is that parents are listening more to their children rather than just telling, and so children feel that they can respond to their parents and have like an open communication and a discussion with them, and that's becoming more common as well. Effective communication is becoming more mainstream with parents nowadays because it's a way to show your children that you respect them, that you hear them, and that you understand what they're saying. This helps build children's self-esteem, which is really important, especially in today's day and age. It also builds a good relationship between parents and children and teaches the children how to communicate effectively. Children are more likely to do what they're told when their parents use a more effective communication approach and aren't using like a demand or an authoritarian kind of communication. Some tips for effective communication are starting children young with effective communication. Communicate at their level and really listen using eye contact. This is really important because it lets the children know that you are hearing them and you're actually listening to them. Some other ways to show your children that you're really listening is to eliminate any distractions that you may have. If you have a phone, and regardless of if it goes off, if you're getting a phone call, if your child is trying to communicate with you, that should be your first priority, is your child. And another thing is listening with your mouth closed, which is really hard, but what it shows your child is that you're not preparing to interject at any moment. Listening with understanding and showing that you're not going to interrupt them so that they know that they are heard. When you're communicating with your child, especially when they're younger, it's important to keep your conversations brief. That's because they do have shorter attention spans. It's important to ask your children the right questions when you're communicating with them, and express your feelings and ideas. Express them in a way that shows your children that it's okay to express your feelings, and that they're allowed to express their feelings and have their feelings as well, and try to find a common ground on how to effectively communicate that. Another important thing is try to schedule regular family meetings. This can help in building family communication with your children so that they feel more comfortable coming to you for any issues that they may have. And admit when you don't know the answer to something. It's important to admit this because children are so used to believing that their parents are the know-all of everything that it's important to show them that sometimes you won't know the answer, and it'll help you work together to find an answer together. Another thing is to use complete explanations whenever you are explaining something, just because it makes the children feel like you really are listening and that you grasp what they're trying to ask you or talk to you about. Some ways to develop good listening skills with your children are asking the child to repeat what's been said to them, not in a rude way, but just like using that as a way to, okay, yes, this is what I heard. And it helps because it solidifies the difference between what they hear and what you say. Another thing to do is read stories to your children. This is something that you should do regardless, but reading stories to them and having them retell you what happened in the story or what their favorite part of the story was. Remind your children that being a good listener means not interrupting or talking over people, and that using good eye contact is really important whenever you can, and really listening to people's ideas. The American Academy of Pediatrics tells us that reading to children builds communication, and in doing so, print books are the best way to go about it because they're more likely to result in verbal communication as well as a connection between parent and child. Any additional information is make sure you avoid nagging and lecturing your child. Don't criticize them when they're communicating their feelings to you, and don't try to control them using guilt.